Hi, I'm Katie,
I'm Emily.
and welcome to our podcast, Through the Trapdoor.
We're so excited. I'm so excited.
So we just obsess about Harry Potter and Harry Potter fan fiction together, and we like to listen to it when we drive, so we figured other people must like to listen to this when they drive, so we should read some to people.
Yes, exactly.
So how did you get into the books, though?
So it started when I was 11. My dad brought home the first Harry Potter book and was like, you have to read this. And, being 11, I was like, Dad, I'm not going to read this, whatever. And then a couple days later, he was like, did you read it? We're going to see the movie. And I'm like, no, I didn't read it. He's like, it's fine. We're still going to see the movie. Saw the movie, and I was obsessed from that point forward. Like, I read all the books that were out. I then went to, all the midnight releases, and yeah, it's just spiraled downhill since there.
So mine's kind of similar in the fact that I think it was like 3rd grade or something when it came out for me, and it might have been 4th grade, and I vividly remember my teacher, for some reason, it was like a treat. She read it to us in class, the first book.
Yes.
But people made fun of me because my maiden name's McKinnon, and in literally one of the first chapters, Voldemort has killed an entire family of McKinnon. So everyone's like, you're a witch, and I'm like, and?
Okay.
What of it?
Sure.
But then I kind of, after that, didn't listen to them or read, and because I listened to all the books on tapes because reading's kind of hard for me. Y'all will find that out.
Bear with us.
It's gonna be fun. So I kind of fell off the face of the earth, but then I listened to the first 3 movies. I watched the first 3 movies, and I was like, all right, I need to finish these books. So then I finished the 4th book right around the same time it came out, and then had to wait the 3 years. The big wait between them, and I was so mad.
That was disappointing.
But I think the 6th one and the 7th one I probably finished within 24 hours.
Oh, yeah. I remember vividly sitting down in my living room after receiving the 6th book in the mail and just reading the entire thing in a 12-hour period.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. I was supposed to go to several birthday parties.
Yep.
I sat next to the pool with my headphones on and ignored everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That book came in the mail, and I sat in my living room at my parents' house, and I was supposed to go out and go to my aunt's house that day, and I was like, I can't. I have to read this book. I have to read it all right now.
Well, yeah, because also if you didn't, someone's gonna completely spoil everything for you. They're gonna be like, oh, Harry dies, or oh, this happens, and I'm like, excuse what?
Mm-mm.
No,
Can't handle it.
Please don't do that.
Don't have time for this.
Yeah. No. And then I got scary into fan fiction for a little while, and not on normal fan fiction sites either. I found it on, if anyone remembers this, Quizilla. Love the early 2000s. It was great.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even think about it for years until probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then I just keep reading it over and over and over again, and then I discovered that this lovely human next to me also loves it.
Yes.
And we've been pretty much best friends ever since.
Yeah, that was basically how we met. We were working at the same store, and one day I was like, oh, I'm really obsessed with the Duggars and Harry Potter and, several other things. And she goes, oh my god, I'm obsessed with the Duggars and Harry Potter and other things. And I was like, let's be best friends.
And it's been history. We've done a lot of things together now.
Yeah, and here we are. We're also a glass of wine deep into this conversation, so.
So please excuse our ramblings, but I guess that's what this is for.
Yeah, why else would you be here listening to our podcast?
Exactly. Well, because you want to listen to someone read you Harry Potter fan fiction.
True. So we are going to start off our podcast by reading a wonderful story about Malfoy. And it is called The Name's Malfoy. A slender woman stood in the entrance to the Great Hall. A smile played at her lips as she recalled everything from the day she'd been sorted into Gryffindor. To the last... I feel like this sentence is weird.
It is kind of a weird sentence. A smile played at her lips. she recalled everything from the day she'd been sorted into Gryffindor to the last day of her final year at Hogwarts. So maybe
I was just reading it weird. Whatever. We're going to continue. The rush of memories was almost overpowering for her, and she busied herself by smoothing out the front of her black, form-fitting cocktail dress. She self-consciously patted her unruly chestnut curls, an old nervous habit that had been never really gone away, then took a deep breath and squared her shoulders, stepped into the hall.
Well, we know who that is.
Definitely Hermione. At the clicking of her stilettos against the ground, the other occupants of the large hall glanced up and fell silent. A collective intake of breath sounded, but the woman ignored it. She simply making her way to the table where a pile of labels and several quills lay.
What? This is, like, very descriptive, and I can picture the scene, and I kind of love it.
I know. It's very descriptive.
The writing is lovely.
She took one of each item and began writing, until the label read Hermione in small, meticulous letters. Hermione muttered a sticking charm under her breath and carefully placed the label onto her dress. She had opted for Muggle clothing to make a statement. Hermione, who had always been a pretty girl, had grown into a beautiful, poised woman over the 10 years since she and the rest of her year had graduated from Hogwarts. She was still, and always would be, a studious bookworm, and her hair was still, as always, would be nearly impossible to tame. The woman that she had become, however, exuded confidence, beauty, and even wisdom. Very few men could say that they did not find her attractive.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure that she was attractive regardless.
I also have crazy unruly curly hair, and sometimes it is very Hermione-esque.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This was becoming evident in the great hall as a low rumble of voices began to grow. Everybody was whispering something to somebody about the former head girl, ranging from, "That's Granger," to "That woman must have made a pact with the devil." What?
Oh, well, that's extreme. Oh, the next one. Oh, my God.
And even, "I'd do her in a second." Yes! Chaos ensued as drooling husbands and leering boyfriends were smacked by indignant and jealous girlfriends. Oblivious to it all, Hermione simply smiled her pearly, white, straight-toothed smile. Her parents were dentists, after all, and made her way over to a cluster of former Gryffindor students. "Harry, Ron, you have no idea how happy I am to see you two," she squealed. That wasn't really a squeal voice.
No, it's more like, "Harry, Ron, you have no idea how
That. It was that.
I wanted to say excited instead of happy.
It's fine. It's fine. A bit of the old Hermione shining through as she greeted the men who had been her best friends throughout their years at Hogwarts. She threw her arms around both and pulled them into a tight hug. When she let go, Hermione proceeded to go around the circle, greeting each and every one of her old friends. She grinned and congratulated the couples empathetically when she saw the twin wedding bands on their fingers of Harry and Ron's little sister, Ginny, as well as those of Ron and Lavender. Before long, the group had settled into comfortable, light-hearted conversation.
So wait a second. Y'all were best friends for years, but you didn't go to either of their weddings?
Yeah, like, what happened, Hermione? Seems
Seriously? How did you not know?
Okay, we had to pause again for go get some wine.
Yes, more wine.
It's like 90 bajillion degrees in my house, even with the air conditioners running, so keeping the wine refrigerated.
Also, we have curtains blocking the AC noise, so it also blocks the AC from us.
Yeah, so my house is very echoey. We had to set up some, like, makeshift curtains out of bed sheets.
It's hair ties, nails. It's a good time.
Yeah, we'll probably post that to our Instagram if we ever get our Instagram account working.
A lovely photograph of this.
Our husbands are going to come back from their basketball adventure and be like, what were you two doing?
Recording our podcast that you guys are so lovingly supporting us in, because they just blindly support us in any thing that we want to do.
They're good husbands.
They really are.
Also, you probably hear my dogs in the background. Please just ignore them. Don't actually, they're adorable. We'll probably post pictures of them too, but
Obviously.
Ignore their noises. Alright, so when Ron began recounting a misadventure with a dragon from his and Lavender's trip to Romania, Hermione politely excused herself. As she made her way over to the buffet table to pour herself a drink, Hermione thought about how much she had missed out on by going to America to continue her studies.
Well, that's why she wasn't at the weddings, I guess. But I would have came back for my best friend's freaking wedding.
I know.
I mean, I drove to New York for yours.
Yeah, you drove 6 hours and stayed, 3 or 4 extra days for my wedding?
Yeah, because we're best friends.
Yeah.
And obviously, why would I not?
Exactly. You can go from America to England, Hermione.
Also, you've got magic. You can apparate. It doesn't even cost you money.
Yeah. Or even, if you had to take a porky, you could be there instantly. What's wrong with you?
Just one day, girl. Come on.
You'd do it in the morning and then be back at home before breakfast the next day.
I would have went to your wedding, even if I was in another country, just so you know.
Okay. Good. I'm just saying.
Beautiful.
Yours was easy, though. It was right down the road.
That's true.
All right, anyway.
Back to the story.
She, Harry, and Ron had considered themselves inseparable, and yet the years had passed them by quickly, and they had eventually lost touch. A hand brushed against her arm discreetly as its owner reached for a goblet. Hermione glanced up into the eyes of Draco Malfoy.
And here he is.
Her one-time enemy and tormentor. I feel like they didn't mean to write her one-time enemy, and I think they meant
Well, unless it was saying it in one time as in past tense, But I don't know. I just feel like it should have said her former.
There we go.
Enemy and tormentor. But I feel like one time, depending on the way you think about it, still makes sense.
It still makes sense. He was smirking, but it wasn't the same contemptuous sneer that he had once seemingly plastered on his face whenever Hermione was around. He gestured at her hand, which sported a delicate yet ornate wedding band that the others had failed to notice.
I see you got hitched too, Malfoy commented conversationally, raising his own left hand to show the expensive ring on his finger. Hermione smirked back at him.
Parkins must have been devastated, unless it's her that you were married to, she replied. And if that's the case, she added, what a poor, unfortunate soul you are. Hermione's eyes danced, and she continued to smirk. Before Malfoy could reply, she turned to go back to her group of friends, only to find herself face to face with Pansy Parkins. Well, 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 Pansy said in an almost gleeful voice. If it isn't the know-it-all mudbl. I would stop there if I were you, Parkins. Hermione cut in, her voice dangerously calm.
Yes.
I say that in a super dramatic voice. Dangerously calm.
Much more dramatic than the actual. I would stop there if I were you, Parkinson.
That's what you get for not reading ahead.
By the way, we are reading this blind if you didn't get that anyways.
Yeah, I did a quick yep, okay, let's do this one. It looks good. It's 1,000 words. We're fine. We're not fine. We're not doing very well. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, it's almost done though.
Oh.
It's
so
just
sad.
getting so good.
I'm so sad. Okay, anyway. I realize that old habits die hard, but it's been 10 years. Hermione paused. Not to mention, she added, almost as an afterthought, I'm now in a position at the Ministry where I could have you arrested for that. Pansy blanched. As am I, Malfoy inserted. The occupants of the Great Hall, who had already been watching the confrontation with a great deal of interest, seemed taken aback by Malfoy's willingness to support his one-time enemy. Draco, you didn't mean that, Pansy said in the same whiny, sing-song voice that she had used so many years ago. She looked back at Hermione. You think you scare me, Granger? She stopped to take a sip from the goblet she was holding. Hermione glanced at Malfoy, who gave a slight nod. Harkins, the name's Malfoy. Pumpkin juice exploded everywhere. Goblets, dishes clattered to the ground, all around the Great Hall. People were choking on their food, or in Pansy's case, wiping away the liquid dripping from her nose.
Yes. Yes, pumpkin. Why was she drinking pumpkin juice at a 10-year reunion?
Adult.
Fire whiskey, for damn sure. Or
that would burn.
elf wine.
What burn coming out.
I do not want wine to come out my nose, but I have a feeling it's gonna happen to us at least one of these times.
It's gonna be everywhere. Malfoy leaned down so that his breath tickled Hermione's ear. It's almost like an apocalypse, love, he joked, earning a playful slap on the shoulder from his wife. He chuckled and snaked his arms around her waist. Hermione wrinkled her nose and performed a quick cleaning spell to get rid of the splatters of pumpkin juice on her dress and his robes. Every eye in the Great Hall was on them. Yeah, Draco Malfoy said, glancing up, looking almost sheepish. We got married.
Well, shit.
The end. That was a great story.
I kind of love that. And I love that they were, like, pretending not to know who the other was married to. Like, that's so fun. I love it. Like, yes, we're going to a 10-year reunion. No one knows we're married. Let's just completely confuse everyone and pretend. Come separately. Mm-hmm. Pretend we don't know each other, though we do. Or don't know who the other's married to. Think we still hate each other. And then just be like, the name's Malfoy.
LOL, I'm married.
Also, I feel like that's super uncanon for Hermione. She totally would not have changed her name.
No, I don't think she would have. I mean, maybe because, like, it would get her a lot farther in politics having that last name. Cause, like,
well, maybe, but his parents were Death Eaters, and even though this was published before the last book came out, we still knew his parents were Death Eaters. His father had already gone to Azkaban, because that was at the end of the 5th book.
Yep.
For being a Death Eater.
Yeah, so it really,
So I don't know if as her, I would have wanted to take Malfoy's name. However, though, if we follow Cursed Child canon, clearly that name doesn't matter. Because wasn't he, like, in magical law enforcement or something?
Yeah, something.
Alright, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes.
A nice one. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at ThroughTheTrapdoor16 and on our Twitter at TheTrapdoor16.
Because Through the Trapdoor was too long for Twitter.
Yep.
And you can email us at throughthetrapdoor16@gmail.com with any story suggestions, or if there's anything you think that we need to see, whether it's a meme or another fan fiction, or if you have anything to say to us.
Bye.
Bye.